That's awesome. I knew James had somebody that would push that button for him, so that's super cool and be like him when I grow up. So that's pretty neat. All right, we're excited to have Lauren Loper on here today. Braden's going to talk to her a little bit about the progress she's made after she got her funnel set up. So just a quick review. Braden sets the funnel up. No brain damage on the agent's part there. Ties in the campaigns, the automation, sets the ad up. 3 days later, does a call, make sure everything's working correctly. And then 7 days later, does a call to make sure the agent doesn't have any questions and is working it correctly. And then every 7 days, a call to make sure everybody's on track, no questions, nobody's lost, feeling confused. And in the meantime, you can always text myself, or if we need to, we can actually get with Braden in the middle of that as well, or whoever brought you to this call. So this system's great for building your database. I think that's something that's overlooked. The number one thing here we're doing is building a database. I love last week that Sharon mentioned, she just had a closing from someone that she generated about 2 years ago. So a lot of these are a lot quicker than that. But after you start doing this a while, you'll start having some natural
Yeah.
people reaching back out that weren't ready. Not too long ago, I was on a pretty high level meeting, and a guy said, "Hey, he's coaching some of the top teams around the country," and he said the hottest leads right now are the 26 to 36-month-old lead. The reason for that is, the market shifted, rates started going up, prices kept going up. So some of those people are coming back around into the market now that prices kind of sort of somewhat stabilized in some market, and interest rates seem to have gone down a little bit compared to where they were. So with all that said, I'm going to ask Lauren just a couple questions, and I'll turn it over to Braden. But Lauren, tell us a little bit about your experience, and I think you kind of started and stopped. So if I remember correctly, you're probably altogether in this getting close to the 60-day mark.
Yes. Yeah, I did one solid month. And I probably out of that, there was like 60 to 70 leads. And I've got um at least four people that want to sell and buy.
Wow.
So a couple of those are not sure on their time frame yet. They're kind of older people looking in the 55 plus, trying to, downsize. So I'm
Great.
just, touching on them. There's another younger woman with a child. Her husband died last year or so, and the house is too much for her. So again, kind of working, staying in touch with her. And then another person who, again, he's not quite sure. He's starting to look, but his wife's not sure yet. So again, kind of in that 55 plus. But those have been really good leads that I call. I've always got like a new idea for them, like a declutter list, or hey, you mentioned you were struggling with getting some of the junk out of your house. I've got a great junk guy. So again, just kind of showing and adding value to them and staying in contact with them has made a really big difference. And then I've got several other people as well that just trying to figure out that timeline. And again, they're just starting. So just giving them the information that they need, but they have a time frame that they need to move, by summer of next year, but we've already talked about I can give a 60-day notice, and so just kind of educating them on the time frame. And I see their activity upticking, wanting, viewing a house 3 times. And then me having another opportunity to reach out to say, hey, we kind of talked about your criteria. What made you look at this house? So I can make sure that I update your criteria. So it's been really good with just honing in more on my comfortability of calling up and following up, and staying in contact with, knowing the
Yeah,
value of those people coming back. So
that sounds great. So, and what I can hear in between the words there is also I can tell that you're moving from new lead to prospect to actively looking. So that's good because that's super important. I can tell you know who to talk to by doing that. And then tell us just a little bit about the client that you have that's now a client because
Yeah.
you're showing them, and then we'll get turned over to Braden. Talk more about your house.
Yes, absolutely. This is one where, Dan and I have had a couple of them where we've had some leads that were like, yeah, next year, but then they call us 2 days later and they're like, you know what, I want to go ahead and look now and move by the end of the month. And that's actually what happened with this particular couple is again, he said we got to move out by July. But then as he started to think about it, we started to talk about it. He was like, okay, I want to try to move before the end of the year. So I've showed them about 8 homes. We actually went under contract, kind of doing a counter. But then because they're new, it's been a while since they bought a house, they kind of were dragging their feet. So another offer came in and the seller took it. So another great conversation to have with them and to help hone in my skills and making sure I'm communicating right. And then another house where they put an offer in and came back out because the wife was going to be out of town and but they're like, okay, as soon as she gets back, we truly are positioned. And I didn't have to show them a lot of house, just had really good conversations with them about their criteria, really honing it down, really talking about the few homes that we looked at. And they're definitely ready to go because when they walk in the house, they're like, oh, they're already talking about things where, oh, well, where's my mailbox going to be? So they're already using the terminology of they're already shifting their mind to we're getting ready to move. So she'll be
All right,
about,
that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's good. So you got really good activity in the 60 days or less than 60 days. And all right, Braden, what's your thoughts? And I think Lauren, Braden might have you pull up your screen for
Okay.
Yep.
make sure your numbers
Let's look
fit.
at let's look at reality, right? Which is
There
how
we
many
go.
leads, cost per lead. We'll talk through that and go from there. If we can give her access for her to Lauren, if you'd share your screen, please.
Sure.
And let's get Facebook pulled up first.
Let me get back to the Zoom here so I can share my screen. There you go. And we're going to go ahead to do share. And then I'm going to get you up here.
And then I'm gonna request remote control.
There you go.
By the way, just to add to that, I actually had a lead come in on October 14th, but I was out of town and I didn't get back with them until like October 28th or something like that. But I have a listing appointment with them tomorrow and
Nice.
buying and selling. So you don't always have to wait a few months to have something happen.
That's true.
What price point is that listing appointment?
400. And then he's trying to buy something that's around 300. He's trying to downsize.
I'm just sweet. That'll be good. I'm trying to find the ad account that we're running this from, but I'm not finding it.
Also, I just went
Is he?
binding yesterday on one of for one of my leads that came in earlier this
Try
year.
that one.
So, that was
Nice.
like this, a few months ago. And it's our second closing because he sold his house and then this contract was for a purchase. But I do, like Dan said, I have had some that take a couple years, but no, not all of them.
Is this ad currently active?
No, I don't think it is.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Mm-mm.
That makes a little more sense. What was the location that we were running it?
Ackworth.
There it is. Okay.
Yep, there it is. Yeah.
All right. So let's look at maximum. So we generated, I don't think we could be any more on par for the course here. So 100 leads okay, at a $2.45 cost per lead, which is really a good cost per lead. Anything under 3 these days is really good. I'm seeing a lot of 3 to 4s, expecting that to kind of, after election and all that, maybe some more rate decrease. We'll see that kind of get back to the norm of being under 3, but $2.45 is a really good cost per lead. We've only spent $245.09. Okay. So, based on that, you said, we typically say on average for an agent that, follows the process, stays consistent, they should pull 2 to 3 deals from that. And so it seems like, just from based on what you said, you're going to be quite a bit above the average, depending on what actually closes from that. So that's our numbers. That's what reality is. That's what we've seen so far. Are you going to be turning this back on at any point, or are you just working the leads that you currently got?
No, my plan is to, I was going to get it going actually this month. Today's a great day.
Okay. You want to kick it back on?
Let's do it.
Right on. Let's do that. And then we may want to get something in the calendar for about a week from now. So maybe next Thursday or Friday, just to kind of, who knows, ideally we would expect that cost per lead still performs at 245 around there. But if not, we will need to kind of keep an eye on that. So let's get with me. Let's get something in the calendar for later next week, just to check on that. But I guess what, when you ran this ad, did you run it consecutively was there a time that you turned it on and then turned it off, or was it ran consecutively for a month or so,
Yes,
or
it was run.
How did we do this?
It was
remember?
run consecutively. So it was on for like maybe 6 weeks, maybe not even that long. So, so I was able to generate all of this, and I got really quality leads. So, and it's
Gotcha.
like, I've been doing this for almost 7 years, and I've done ads and stuff, but this is the first time that I've gotten actually like real people, quality leads. Just calling through all the 100 was super easy, and immediately just knowing who I could connect with and stay connected with. So I don't know, it's awesome.
Gotcha. Right on. And so the one question I always like to ask, I ask it, every Friday. What is the one thing, if you were an agent that is new to working this system, maybe currently working the system and not seeing a ton of success, or thinking about working the system, what is the one thing that you would, advice that you would give to that agent, that you would have wanted to have heard prior to getting going with this?
I definitely thought was huge was the scripts. Just reading over there and just being prepared for what I was going to be, who I was going to be talking to, what I needed to say. And again, the scripts are just a guide, but they're just part of the ease of just having a starting point for the conversation. So I think if agents aren't using a script or aren't being prepared for what they're going to say and make it flow easily and being comfortable with, hey, I'm valuable, I think that's key. So, and really I would say just really taking the time to listen to what these people are looking for, because you can find a good flow with them and already just take good notes and remember. So I would say that the thing is just being prepared for your conversations, like just having the confidence in what you can bring to the table. Calls aren't always easy. So it's like, I get it. You feel like, I don't know if this person wants to talk to me, but I want to help them. So I want to help them, and I know how to help them. So going to the calls, I think with that kind of attitude, the next thing is just really listening to their time frame, like asking those questions up front. Hey, what's your timeline? When are you looking to move, or what have you thought about? It can change, but just taking a moment to understand each of them. And then just also taking good notes, because sometimes I'll get to going with, oh, I got to do this, got to make my calls. But then I'm like, oops, I need to remember something that I can reconnect with this person or continue that connection. So, and those have made it easy.
100%. So to kind of pick that apart there, the inevitable and all of that is making the calls, right? I know there's, some agents that I talk to that is kind of reluctant to even want to make those calls, but it's inevitable that we have to do that. The second piece of that is it's not that I'm just making calls to make calls, right? I'm making calls intentionally prepared to be able to provide whatever it is that I need to provide to get the conversion with that call, right? And so you made a good point of the scripts being something that you can utilize. If you don't have the scripts, guys, it should have been sent to you in the email attached to the email that you booked your initial funnel build out with me on. And even if you're not running the ads and you want those scripts, we can get those to you. But knowing that is a good framework to go by. I've always said that scripts can be difficult sometimes. They're not necessarily difficult, but they can kind of be potentially put you in a tough situation if somebody goes off script, meaning, they say something that's not in the script that, you have an answer to, you're kind of up a creek, but at least having a good understanding of what the goal is when we get on that call and using those scripts for that, I think is really important. Another thing that you mentioned earlier that I think is big is, in terms of following the process, right? It sounds like you've been doing a pretty good job of being in the system when you're on these calls, or at least getting back into the system where you're adding notes and being very detailed about things that you can utilize in your next conversation with these leads by, I assume, putting in the notes where, you make a call or adding notes to the timeline when you're making these calls. Is that kind of what you've been doing?
Yes.
And that's a big thing, because what I explain to people is that these leads are internet leads, right? And they do not have a relationship with us. And knowing that, we have to build what we call the know, like, and trust, right? We have to be able to come in and get people that don't know us from Adam to know, like, and trust us with the largest financial decision for most people. And so the best way, in my opinion, to do that is exactly what she's been doing, is when you're on these calls, especially whether it's in the initial conversation on a phone call or it's the conversation you're having through text, it doesn't matter. In the notes, we are putting. Let me mute him. I think there we go. We are taking notes where we are going to be able to have things that when I get into the next conversation, I am going to bring up intentionally to better and further cultivate that relationship with that lead. Because this is sales and this is relationship based. And if we cannot connect with leads and establish that relationship, then they're not unfortunately not going to do a deal with us. So anything that you have to share on kind of that piece of the process, or any tips or things that you found that worked well for you, or anything you'd like to mention on that?
So I will say that probably about a year ago or so, Dan and I, well, a little bit longer than that, but Dana and I were kind of looking at some of his leads. We were talking about some strategies and contacts and all that other stuff. And to Braden's point, these are internet leads. They are looking everywhere. I've even had some of his leads sign up into my system. So I reached out to him. I was like, oh my gosh, so-and-so reached out. I mean, good thing that Dan and I are working together, kind of partnering together. And it's like, oh, how do you want me to handle this? Is this your lead? So that is huge, is that staying connected and letting them know, hey, I'm your source, nobody else. Don't chase other ads.
All right. Yeah, that's a big part of it. And I think the big part of that is kind of going back to the script in a sense. What are the things that I'm trying to do in the initial conversation? And I always tell agents the very first thing that we should be doing is identifying what their specific criteria is. Because if I identify your specific criteria and then demonstrate and provide what you're looking for by sending you that list of homes, there shouldn't be any other reason that you're looking anywhere else if I'm delivering exactly what you need, right? And the best way to do that is to get that specific criteria by asking those right questions. What's your Bed Bath criteria? What's your price point? What specific locations are you looking for? Adding that into the search alert, right? Then setting that search alert, then letting them know, hey, listen, I sent you the list of homes. Can you verify you got that for me? Right? Making sure that they were able to access it and it didn't go to spam or for whatever reason is a big part of that, because if you are sending them exactly what they want to see, there shouldn't be any other reason as to why they're looking elsewhere, right? So that's a big piece of that is number one, always identifying what is specific criteria and delivering on that.
And just following up very quickly. As soon as they, download the app, like I use KV Core, I have the app, so immediately I'm seeing the texts and I can call, through my phone, so I can track it. So I can call through the app on my phone, and that helps track it as well. So.
Yep, that's another thing we've talked about is making sure you have that mobile app on your phone, because we are not always in front of a computer. And you have all of the same functionalities within the app that you do on the desktop. So getting familiarized with the phone app is always a good idea, because we 99% of the time have that phone in our hand, right? So that's good, man. That's all that I've got. Is there anything else you'd like to add or mention before we let Dan take it back?
That is it that I have.
Okay. Now that's kind of it for me too. I know we have a lender or two on here like we usually do, so good program for them. Braden, you have a couple of quick comments or thoughts for lenders while they're on here?
Yeah. So what I'll say is, the funny thing about this whole thing is that when I started building these ads, it was my lender, Rob McCullough, that actually gave me access to the $3 or $4 grand course that he had to actually build these ads were actually it was a lender that was teaching other lenders how to build ads to generate leads to then go partner with agents. And so I have a lot of experience with working with, directly with my lender and then building that same process for other lenders, where essentially what's going to happen is when you are added as a preferred lender to the agent's KV Core account, you are actually going to get your own personal login and KV Core dashboard as well. And so this means that you are going to be able to see, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. We can have it set up where we assign leads to you. So that means that only the leads that we determine need financing and need to have a conversation with you will be assigned to you, or we can set it up where every lead that comes into that system, the agent system, is actually assigned to you. So there's two different ways to go about it. But you get to see everything that's happening in the timeline. So you get to see when that lead comes in, you get to see any conversation that was made through text. You get to see any notes that agent's made. If you set up it the way that I suggest to do it, which is when the lender is assigned, we have automation on the lender side of things that is triggered. And typically what we did was we had a text and an email go off. We had a text with an initial introduction, introducing who the lender is and kind of where he came from and how he got in touch with you. So letting them know what agent it came from, and letting them know that they needed to check their email. And then the email that we had was a little more in-depth intro, but also the way we set it up is we had the mortgage application attached in there as a link. We also had a Calendly link attached in there if they wanted to book an appointment. Essentially let them know, hey, listen, if you want to start the mortgage application, here it is. You can go ahead and get a head start. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, book a time and we will jump on a call and we'll do the mortgage application over the phone. And so for, a lender that was willing to learn KV Core, much like the agent has to learn KV Core and kind of follow that process, it really streamlined, and not only streamlined, improved conversion rate, because getting a lead to the end zone is not just us finding them a home. And a lot of times when, leads are 3 to 6 months out, a big part of the process is getting the financial situation in place, right? And so the quicker that process takes place, the quicker that you're going to be able to write an offer. So it really streamlines the whole process of getting that lead over to the lender, getting that process started. They're, obviously increasing conversion rate. And so it was something that, if we had a lender that wanted to do it, I always recommended that that they did. And so we can get that set up if that's something, they're interested in doing. But that's pretty much what that process would look like if a lender wanted to partner with an agent on a deal like this.
Yep, that's awesome. That's great information. Anyone have any questions before we hop off for this Funnel Friday? Let's see if any hands are up. Otherwise, we can reach out to your sponsor or anyone on the call. We're all pretty helpful groups. So if you see someone you know or anyone that said anything that you want some more information on, you probably contact them through Workplace or contact me and we'll help you get any of your questions answered. But anyone have a question before we get out of here? Look real quick.
No questions, but I did want to say that I've had my first win on my funnel leads. Had a client call me that has been, his wife actually logged on to my website and has been just hitting it hard. I don't have I have her email, but I don't have her phone number. So I'll call him because she's like looking at this one subdivision and she'll do I'll get the behavioral text kind of thing because she'll look at one property 3 or 5 times, but I can't call her, right? So I'll email her and then I'll call him. He's like, oh yeah. And then I got super busy and didn't have a chance to call him. So he called me and he says, okay, we're ready. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, no, we're ready. And so I said, okay, great. And they're working me like a Hebrew slave, but it's a great thing. So and now it's a great time to buy new construction, so it's been crazy. So I just want
I love that. I love that. And there's probably no Hebrew slaves on here, so I don't think we own anyone involved, so that's good.
No, I'm just saying. I mean every day I'm out. They're in
I love you. I love you. So
yeah, no, they're in Florida. And I said, so when are you guys coming back up here? He's like, no, we're doing it over the phone, and I'm like, okay. So, they're well qualified, 20% down, and they're just making the best deal possible. And these on-site agents are desperate, man. They're like, don't go anywhere else. If that's not good enough, I can work something because they want to close by the end of November, and November is a bonus. So
what price range is that? Just out of curiosity.
They don't want to go over 450, and these houses now that are almost 500, they're throwing $70,000 and $60,000 at the house, and they're doing 4.99% interest. And I mean, these around here, we've got a plethora of standing inventory when it comes to new construction. So we've got, Fisher Homes, we've got where else have I been? I've been to
I ran into one that was 4.0 2 weeks ago.
Shut up. I've got Chafin at 4.99. I've got Century at 5.125. I mean, they are just nuts around here. So
that's good. I got an agent out in Vegas. She said they're at 299 right now. Wow. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's Ryan. Actually, she's running the funnels out there in Las Vegas. Yeah. So there's deals to be had. To touch on that, guys, we talk about shooting off the mass text and mass emails periodically. I always say every 2 to 3 weeks. But if you're an agent that is in the field and you're doing the work, you're going to be bumping into these builder reps or whoever it is. You're going to be seeing the emails come through. Those are all things that you could be utilizing: mass text, mass emails, sending to your database. I wouldn't recommend sending it to your active leads in terms of a mass text. I would probably be, maybe being more intentional with that, as you probably have a more clear idea of where they're wanting to be at. But, for instance, if we know there's a certain community or builder that's offering whatever the rates are, $399, $499, that's one of those mass texts that you could be sending out. Hey, if I was able to help you get an interest rate under 4% when purchasing a new home, would you be interested in seeing how that's possible? And sending that mass text out to all of those leads that are, I would do it to your prospects. If you're just positioning your leads correctly, that would be all of the leads that are not an active lead, right? So they would be in the prospect status. But sending text like that out there, that could be under 4% interest rate when purchasing a new home. That could be up to $6,000 in closing costs when purchasing a new home. Whatever those incentives are, you could even talk about the upgrades. It doesn't matter really. I mean, obviously, some are probably a little more impactful, like an interest rate, than maybe some upgrades in a home, and maybe get a better response. But you should be utilizing all of those different things that you could be sending out in the mass text to potentially stir up some conversation from those leads that we've yet to make contact with. But don't forget to be doing that every 2 to 3 weeks. Hitting that mass text a list of the prospects.
I agree. Fourth
Keep it
quarter
super
incentives
short.
are crazy. They're crazy.
Yeah, super short. Just take would you be interested in reengaging your home search or something along those lines if I could get you a 4.0% 30-year fixed rate loan? It doesn't have to be exact. They're gonna call and say, well, I don't want to buy a $400,000 house in Dallas. I want to buy a $600,000 house in Powder Springs. And I'm like,
Right.
ching, that all right, that's all that mattered. I got back into a conversation. So it could be whatever you want, but my super suggestion is, one line space, real short. If I could help you get an interest rate below blank, would you be interested in looking at homes?
That's it right there. If I could help you get a 4% interest rate or under 4% interest rate if they're 3.99, if I could help you get an interest rate under 4% when purchasing a new home, would you be interested in seeing how that's possible? That's the one that I've sent out many of times with many of agents, and almost every time they end up stirring up some conversation with a lead that they've not yet made to have a conversation with. Now, what I'll tell you is that there's a good chance that when you send that mass text off, that you're going to get the stop or unsubscribe text back. I did it with Ryan last week. We had, I think, 3 or 4 leads come through that said stop or unsubscribe. But if you know me, what I'm going to tell you to do as soon as you get a stop or unsubscribe is pick up the phone and call them, because they've got their hand in their phone. They think it's an automated system texting them. And as soon as they answer, hey, it's Braden with eXp Realty. Hey, I just got your text. I know you wanted me to unsubscribe you, but I just wanted to make sure before you did that this is a real agent on the other end of the line over here. I just want to make sure before I take you out of my system, there wasn't any properties that you were interested in taking a look at or anything that I've sent you that you may need additional information on, right? And at that point, what you're doing is identifying, hey, I know that, potentially you think I'm a bot or an automated system, but you're going directly into a question where we don't even really discuss that. We're just going into, is there anything that I could do for you, or do you have any questions, right? And so if you do get those stop or unsubscribes, don't hesitate to pick up the phone, because more than likely they may answer.
Yeah, they probably will. I have a question. Has anybody had any success or done a video? Because I am not a night person, and somebody responded to one of my automated texts at like 10:30, and I happened to still be awake, which is rare. And I started texting with him and literally nodded off during a text conversation. Can you do a video like, hey, I see you responded to my Facebook ad. Thanks a lot. Just like do a short video and ask him for their specific criteria, because I can't do the response at night thing. I just can't. I'm not a night person. But I mean, I just wanted to see what would happen if I responded, and he was responding back, and I can't do that night thing, man. So has anybody ever done a video like to respond back to people at night?
Yeah.
Whenever they get a text.
Yeah. So there's a good, we call it face to a name video that you could shoot. The one thing we say is always shoot that kind of like inside, so they don't know what time of day it is. We've had people shoot it in their car, and it's, obviously daylight outside, and then they try to send it off in the evening, and it's, whatever. But you can always shoot a video and just say, hey, Braden Kinder, I want to shoot this video real quick, just so you can put a face to a name type of scenario, and shoot a video like that. And then be asking what that specific criteria is. So, hey, just wanted to shoot this video real quick so you can put a face to a name. Noticed you were looking at some new construction homes over in Frisco. Was curious to see exactly what you were looking for. I'd be happy to send you a list that fits exactly the criteria you're looking for. Let me know if you need anything. Thanks. Have a great day. Boom. And then you can have that in your arsenal, right, of videos if you do multiple ones. Where at any point in time that you wanted to launch that video, you could then have that already uploaded to your computer and shoot that out to them.
Oh, you can't make that part of your auto. Can you do?
You can, but it's not. It's you can. Are you asking? I guess. Are you asking? Can you make that part of your drip campaign?
Yeah,
Is
like
that the question?
like the first thing they get. Can you do
Um,
or no?
I believe that we can. The problem with it is one, you have to get bomb, and the last time I looked at trying to do it, the only problem was is that I don't think we could do it through text. And if we did do it through text, you couldn't have it populate like a video. It had to be like a link, right? And that was kind of the reason why we decided not to kind of incorporate that, because if you had it pop up like a video, like a normal video in a text, yeah, that'd be great. But if it's like a link that they have to click on and then go watch the video, that's not really ideal. And that was the way the process was, or the way it worked last time we looked at doing it. I'll be transparent. I haven't looked at doing it in quite a while. So it may be something you could do different, but I don't think so. But that would be the reason why. If you still got to send a link, then it's not going to get really that much engagement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Face to a name. Got it.
I think somebody has maybe their hand raised.
That's me, Braden. Just thinking about what Yvonne said, because I had thought about the same thing. And so I had this idea, and tell me if it makes absolutely no sense. But what if when they click the link to request more information on the new construction homes, they put their information in, and then the video pops up introducing ourselves, whatever the case may be, and then they go into the CRM for the drip campaign. Does that make sense? I think that's like a landing page or something.
Yeah. So there's really no way that I know of to be able to still deliver on what we're offering them in that fashion, right? Because there's only one destination that from the form that you can send them to,
Gotcha.
which is, you could essentially shoot that video. It's a link. You put that link as the destination that they would go to instead of the list of homes. Unfortunately, therefore, you wouldn't be sending them to the list of homes. You would be sending them to that link. Now,
Okay.
the alternative, and I've never tested it, and I don't know how well it would work, is you could shoot a video, and it would be along the lines of face to a name, and then you would let them know, I'm going to be sending you a text with the link to the homes, and then it would be completely changing the way the process is. But essentially, from there, what would happen is that first automated text, instead of asking if they were able to access that list of homes, it would be the link to the list of homes where they would have to click on that link there. The problem that kind of runs into is we do see some landlines come through, and we do occasionally see that just because it's an autofill form, it may not be the phone number that they use, primarily, or it may not be their phone number. So there's some things to think through that, but it may not be a bad idea. It may kind of close that gap of face to a name early on, as opposed to trying to do it later on. But it's not something I've tested. But that would be just kind of thinking off the spot how you would do it if you were to do it.
Okay, thank you. Just curious.
Yep.
Hey, I've got a question for Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lauren, what was that again? That the first 60 days you had four buyers or listings. What was that again?
Okay. Can y'all hear me?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
To ask that question again, within the first 60, I had I was getting at least 2 or 3 leads a day within that month time frame. And and getting that, like my current client, so that was like September. And then I showed them a house in September, gave them that showing thing to sign just for that one time. And then we started looking at homes probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. I signed with them. So yeah, I mean, they're pretty much ready to go under contract. They just need to go under contract. And then the other people I'm just still nurturing and trying to, have them figure out what their motivation is and how quickly they want to move and whatever else. So, I mean, for basically, let's say I just stop this all together, I got one person, their price point's about 400,000.
And what you mentioned, like something along the lines of four, you had four other
Yes.
potential listings.
Yes. Basically, I have 4 people with basically 8 sides because they want to sell and buy. And then I have 3 other people that want to at least buy that are renters. So they don't have anything to sell, but so we don't have to worry about contingencies there. So, and for the at least the 3 out of the 4 and possibly the 4, they don't have to have a contingency to sell their house. They own their homes outright.
And you also mentioned that
Nice.
they were 55 and older.
Yes. Yeah.
And were you targeting 55 or it just ended up being that way?
No, it just ended up being that way.
Okay, I was just wondering. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
A lot of times we'll use a single story image as that is what typically performs well. And the reason that does perform well is, the demographic, the age demographic of people that are typically on Facebook or coming from Facebook is typically quite a bit older. And so that's why it's always good to run it in tandem with Instagram to keep that age demographic kind of balanced out. But you will see primarily, I would say for most people that have been on here, and they'd agree, primarily, middle to older aged people from these type of ads, especially the Facebook side of things. Which is good, right? Like she said, I think all of those had their houses paid off or outright. So, those are not typically difficult clients to work with.
Yeah, they tend to have more money. They tend to have less credit issues. They are relatively financially easy people to work with.
Yep. Ooh. Any other questions? Anybody else got any other questions or things they'd like to mention?
I have a question for Lauren. Just curious, what times are you making your phone calls? I just like to see how everybody's doing theirs.
Sure. I like, that kind of the typical mid-morning before lunch. Sometimes I make it at lunch because they are at lunch. They're not doing anything else but eating. So sometimes I will kind of call around that mid-morning time frame up until about noon because I want to try to get appointments in sometime after noon. So morning time for my calls, afternoon I try to set aside for appointments. Sometimes it depends on the day and depends on what I've done. So sometimes 3 o'clock in the afternoon is not a bad time. I think Tuesday is a good time to call. Tuesday, Wednesday, I typically call like Tuesday, Thursday. Sometimes I call on Friday. Like they want to just chat. And that's typically the day I just call and be like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? How's it going? And sometimes that's an easier conversation too. I know what some of the stats say, but I know what I have found and kind of know how I feel typically about the days anyway. So.
That's helpful. Thank you. Yeah, I like that. I like that thing.
Cool. All right. So, anybody else before we wrap up? All right, cool. All right, well, appreciate everybody for jumping on. Let's keep these funnels going. Let's keep making sure that we're making the phone calls and doing the follow-up like we're supposed to. If we know the leads come in, we just, once we set everything up, and you know, make Braden proud when he's coming on here when y'all come back with some more testimonials. So the fact that y'all
That's
are
right.
working, it makes a
And
big
keep your
deal. So
keep scheduling your your ongoing calls with Braden to so he can look at things and tweak things and we really appreciate you, Braden. You're doing a great job helping our guys sell more houses, and we really want to thank you and encourage our people to continue to keep you busy.
Keep me busy. I love it. Yeah, if you haven't been on a call in a while, for whatever reason, we had a call, had to reschedule, whatever, get in the calendar. Because even if we're not, maybe you ran the ad, right, and you turned it off. There's some stuff I can probably look at in the system to maybe shoot off some mass texts, some mass emails with you, help you out with that, and stir up some conversation. So, if you're not in the calendar, get in the calendar, and be happy to see what we can do.
You guys, thank you, Brady.
all right, see y'all later. Have a good Friday, and
Thanks, everybody. Happy
catch up
Friday.
next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you for hopping on the webinar today with Braden Kinder, James Massey, and myself. What I'd like for you to do, if you want to, is hop on my calendar for about a 10-15 minute. I block off 20 minutes on the call, but it's usually like 5-10 minute call, a strategy call. Be happy to answer any questions, tell you exactly how the program works, tell you about the free version, the low cost version, and well, it's the no cost. I don't like saying free, but no cost version, low cost version, and then how we can help you with consistent lead flow, consistent, predictable closings, adding about 1 to 2 closings additional to what you're doing a month to your pipelines. Very realistic. A lot more to the program than we talked about today in the meeting. We also have weekly trainings. We have one-on-one. We have call groups. We have anything and everything you need to help you to be successful in this market and just to thrive. So give me a call, you can give me a call, 678-907-1853. Or hop on my calendar. You can scan the QR code or just go to dansleadsclass.com/call. Schedule a call. Happy to talk to you, see if I can help you in your real estate business, and glad to help you any way I can. So hop on my calendar or give me a call. Talk to you soon.